Styles make fights. Back when I made a video about Israil Madrimov, I wish I went more into detail on his style and how tricky it is to deal with, even if you're a #1 rated pound for pound fighter. It's important to understand this and why this fight was somewhat surprising. To me, it came down to 3 factors: timing, footwork, and defensive responsibility. Crawford is an excellent counterpuncher that relies on timing his opponents. Like against Evanesian, he shoulder rolled the jab and countered with the left uppercut. 10 seconds later, he did the same thing but added a right hook and ended the fight in devastating fashion. A stiff Evanesian that throws out jabs like that isn't too difficult to time for Crawford. But when he's up against an offbeat, constantly moving Madrimov, it's extremely difficult to time him, especially because of how patient Madrimov was, only throwing shots he knows he can land. Madrimov would stay in front of Crawford with his drunken-like movement, and then all of a sudden step on the outside of his lead foot to line up his right hand. Crawford had a hard time anticipating this, as Madrimov didn't throw many jabs. Usually fighters throw a lot of jabs to help set up their punches, and someone as skilled as Crawford can pick up on that and counter it, hence the Evanesian example from before. But Madrimov's footwork allowed him to close the distance and land shots without setting it up with his jab. And there's evidence to back this up in the punch stats, as Madrimov only threw 91 total jabs in the fight, compared to Crawford's 223 total jabs thrown. Defensive responsibility was an important component to Madrimov's success. Since Madrimov was basically just lunging in with right hands, it was important that good footwork always kept him balanced, and he always ducked and pivoted to get out of danger. Madrimov jumps in with the right hand, and look how open he is right here. If it's any other fighter, Crawford's catching him with a big left hook, but Madrimov's able to duck and get out of the way. While lunging in, Madrimov also resorted to smothering Crawford so he wouldn't get countered. Crawford's a fighter with high ring IQ, and since Madrimov was able to catch him with so many good right hands, he started moving towards Madrimov's left hand. And that was the right thing to do, but that also led to Madrimov landing big lunging left hooks that left a mouse on the right eye of Crawford. Madrimov did have success here and there, but at the end of the day he was still throwing one shot at a time. And when he stayed in the pocket for too long, Crawford got off his combinations. But Madrimov still remained a puzzle as he was able to catch Crawford with 3 right hands in a row in round 8. This is not the type of Crawford we're used to seeing. He's a natural counterpuncher that's having a hard time countering. We all know this was a close fight, and in the championship rounds when both fighters were being more aggressive, Crawford found success letting his hands go. In the 12th, with the fight possibly being in the air, Crawford knew he couldn't let it slip away. In a round where Madrimov stayed in the pocket and took more risks, Crawford had his best round of the fight. Without Madrimov's movement, he was constantly in harm's way, and Crawford was absolutely cooking him, hitting him with quick short hooks going around the guard, under the guard, doubling up on uppercuts, splitting the guard. I mean, it was just beautiful. This offensive assault could have been a deciding factor that led to Crawford's close victory. When I watched the fight live, I scored it 7-5, 115 to 113 in favor of Crawford. But honestly, some rounds were pretty close, and you might be able to make a case for a tie, or maybe even Madrimov winning the fight. One thing I want to mention about this fight is that Shawn Porter was commentating it. And what was up with his scorecard? He was acting like Crawford won like 12-0. In round 7, he had it 5-1 in favor of Crawford.
I still got it, 6-1 or 5-1 Crawford.
In round 10, Chris Mannix had it 86-85 in favor of Madrimov. And Shawn Porter called his scorecard cute and reaffirmed that Crawford was winning by a lot, and the judges' scorecards will reflect that.
How's that sit with you, Shawn? I know you had Crawford up big early.
Yeah, I think his scorecard is cute. I got him winning by a lot, and I think that's what the scores would say should this fight end in 2 more rounds.
And for some context on the next clip, Porter said that Crawford figured out Madrimov, when everyone else thought Madrimov won the last 2 rounds. And by the way, the 8th round was when Madrimov did this. And I personally thought he won rounds 8 and 9.
Shawn, obviously I'm not the expert, but to me, clear as day, Madrimov won the last 2 rounds, and you say Crawford's figured him out.
Shawn? I got nothing to say to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Shawn Porter was tripping a little bit. I don't agree with his scorecard, but I think Crawford still won in the end. I don't know why Shawn Porter would make a claim that he couldn't explain, but I mean, it's not a big deal. I just think that Madrimov was a lot better than people gave him credit for, but Crawford is still, a winner, and I think he still beat the best guy at 154. I think Madrimov was the best guy at 154, so now Crawford's still champ. And even at the earliest talks of Crawford versus Canelo, I never thought that would ever happen, and I don't think it should happen. Maybe it could happen just for the fact that both fighters are gonna get paid for it, but it should never happen. I don't think it should. But that's it for me. I'm done with this video. Peace. Bye.